What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live as I get through the power of the internet. And this is my rambling series. This is my vlogging series in which I just talk about life, the universe, things around us that are particularly interesting to me, things that are personally affecting me that are going on to the world. I'll talk about the YouTube channel. I'll talk about my health, my wealth, my life, my mental health. I'll just talk about whatever. I'll just talk about whatever. I don't really know exactly what all I'm going to cover in this issue, so I'm definitely going to like it's a comic. Stan Lee is on my mind. I'm just going to talk about whatever comes to mind this week. I think I know what I'm going to title this week's episode. I'm going to be like, what is wrong with Boogie? Or what's going on with Boogie? Because I've been hearing that question a lot on social media, your Reddits, your Twitters, your Facebooks, your everywhere else. And then there's a lot of people who have been confused about the type of content that I've been uploading. So I think that's probably the best place to start. So if you did not see it yet, I will link to it here. I might link to it up here as well, or just check the channel. You'll see I uploaded a gaming podcast, which currently is setting at about 39,000, 40,000 views. Now, I've seen some people say, well, this is a failure of a podcast. You only got 40,000 views. Okay, I'm not trying to be the H3 podcast here. I don't think I'll ever be Joe Rogan. What I want to do is I want to be a job creator. Now, I know that sounds silly, so let me explain to you how I'm getting that. The two people I made that podcast with are two of my closest friends for the last decade. They're people who helped me limp through my divorce. They're people who helped me just survive the world. I set them down and I'm like, you guys are doing Twitch for a living now, right? Yes. You guys want a little hand? Yes. Let's do a podcast together. We'll do like a weekly guest. We'll talk about video games. We'll test it. We'll see what the audience thinks. We'll see if there's any ad revenue that can be brought in. Let's see if there's sponsors who want to bite. And if they do, we can give you guys a leg up. Now, I still enjoy creating the content. That's also why I'm doing it, because it's fun to just sit and talk with my friends about video games and what's going on in the world, and also talk about current events and talk about YouTube and talk about life and just do that. And I think it's also going to be really a lot of fun to invite some guests and do that kind of thing. But it was an opportunity to help out a couple of friends, and that's my primary motivation. So 40,000 views for a project like that seems very rewarding to me. And we still haven't put it on iTunes. We still haven't put it on Spotify. And so the plans for that is, I think the main episode is going to go up here on the channel every time we film it. And then I think we're going to create a podcast channel. Once we have a name for the podcast, I think we're going to create a podcast channel, and then we're going to put highlights there. So section it out into little, maybe one upload a day or one upload every other day, of little 10-minute segments of this is what they talked about here, this is what they talked about there. Now, for those of you who did watch that episode, YouTube auto-assigned ads to it and put ads in every 5 minutes. I'm sorry for that. That was never my intention. I've since removed those ads, and I think if you watch it now, I told it to suggest ads differently, and then I don't know how it populated this, so I set to one every 15, 20 minutes or something like that, which I think is pretty regular for the podcasts I listen to, though I do have YouTube Red on one of my main accounts. I do on one of my listen accounts, watch accounts, I don't have YouTube Red, so I do see the ads. Anyway, long story short, it was a lot of fun. So then that leads me to the interview that I did with Kid Behind the Camera, Michael, which I knew going into it was going to be very, very polarizing. Lots of people love Michael. Lots of people hate Michael. That is a direction I want choose. I'm willingly, choosingly going into it. If that's upsetting for you as a fan, as a friend, as someone who's followed me for a while, I will tell you that the videos you're watching right now, I'll always upload once a week. The gaming podcast, I'll hopefully upload once a week. The gaming news, I will still upload once a week. And a Francis sketch, I will still upload once a week. You can exclusively watch those videos. But occasionally, I want to interview other YouTubers. And sometimes they will be polarizing. Because, and this is where I'm going to take the black pill approach. I think that's the right phrase. Don't quote me on that, because I don't know exactly what the black pill means. I thought it meant like, no, I know what's really going on when it comes to technology. If that's what that means, then that's what I mean. The internet is very polarizing. And being somebody who's had vicious rumors and things taken out of context, and then also the stupid things I've actually done getting thrown up in front of people, I can understand how misinformation spreads and how people hear one thing about you, but they never really give you a fair chance and stuff like that. I wanted Michael to have an opportunity to say whatever it is he wanted to say for you. All I did was prep questions. All I did was ask him those questions. I let my friend Jeff edit it, so I wasn't the one having editing control. Hopefully he'll edit my future interviews, or someone will edit my future interviews, and we will give people who are polarized on the internet, probably never the Logan Pauls of the internet, but hopefully people out there Maybe somebody on the far left, somebody on the far right. Maybe sometime some sort of centrist, somebody who leans just a little left like I do. Maybe we'll pick people who sometimes are politically hated, sometimes who have gotten themselves into controversies, sometimes people who have made mistakes, and allow them to speak for themselves. Now, some people watch that kid behind the camera video and say, hey, Boogie, I think he did a great job. Some people look at that kid behind the camera video and they say, they confirmed every single thing I thought about him. I always knew. I don't care what you got out of that. I don't care. My goal was never to make Michael look good. My goal was never to make Michael look bad. My goal was to create an opportunity for you to form an opinion. That's it. And hopefully an informed opinion. That's it. That's all I ever cared about. I think I did that fairly well. For those of you who are upset about that, for those of you who don't like that direction, or some of you who don't like that, maybe it'll get its own second channel one day. Maybe we'll figure something out. But I promise you this, we'll still do rambling videos once a week, and we'll keep them fun and lighthearted. We will continue to do the Francis sketches, and they will be fun and lighthearted. We will continue to do the gaming podcast, and it'll focus mostly on games, but with some stuff thrown in, life events, and just stuff, and just friends being friends. And maybe, current events or movie reviews or stuff like that. And then we will continue to do the gaming news podcast or the gaming news wrap up every week. So there's still plenty of content that you can watch if you don't like that one thing. Ooh, okay. So let's talk a little bit about Twitter, which if you guys don't know this, I don't understand Twitter anymore. I'm not very good at Twitter. I've got a Twitter account with like 700,000 people following me, most of which are dead accounts, just like the YouTube channel. Here's 4.5 million people following me, but only a few 100,000 active users. That said, on Twitter, a good number of people who don't follow me love to check everything I say and find something wrong with what I have to say. And a lot of the times, I am very idealistic. I am very simple. I am very stupid. And something else I think is important to point out, I'm also very old. A lot of the things that I was learning in high school, please keep in mind, I learned it 30 to 35 years ago. We've changed a lot of things in 30 to 35 years. I think that's a pretty important thing to remember. So a lot of the things that I was taught in high school, Christopher Columbus is certainly a perfect example. I was taught Christopher Columbus was some sort of hero. Obviously, in retrospect, he is not. Perfect example. And I will occasionally get in trouble because I'll say something like, hey, you know who's a real hero is that Christopher Columbus guy. And I'll get in a lot of trouble for it. That's recently what has happened here. I will tell you this. Social media is probably the most negative thing in my life. And I understand why people like H3 or PewDiePie or other people choose to never read their verified tab. They choose to never read the responses. And I'm trying to learn to choose to do that. I understand why somebody like Total Biscuit especially would hire someone to manage their Twitter for them. Not because John was particularly polarizing. He was sometimes. But mostly because he and I have a very common thing in that we take that criticism very deeply to heart. I will often point that out to people. I say, you know the reason the monsters, the actual monsters out there who don't actually care, the reason people don't attack those people, the people who don't actually care, the people who are actually part of the problem, that are the major problem. I can be part of the problem, but the people who are the major problem, right? Your political pundits, your politicians, the reason, because they don't care. They don't care. They're sociopaths. They're psychopaths. They don't care. People like me, we do care. John cared deeply. Stan Lee cared deeply. These are people who would listen to this feedback and take it to heart. And I think that's one of the reasons eventually my heart bleeds when that blood hits the water. People go in on the offensive. They say, oh, we made a hole in the armor. We made a crack in the hole. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. Here's something I truly believe, and I talked to somebody today who believes the same thing, and I think it's interesting. Long time ago, I remember this, don't quote me on it, you can do your own research, please do, but I think I remember a Facebook document that came out that said that people on Facebook spent more money and engaged with advertisers more frequently if they were reading depressing news and angering news, upsetting news, largely. I think that statistic is accurate. I do think that people are angry, people are frustrated, people are irritated. I think they are more likely to engage with non-angering content or stuff that will make them happy, like stuff they want to purchase. I think that is very, very true. I think whether people have willingly or unwillingly embraced that is true. I think Facebook willingly embraced it for a while. I think maybe Twitter willingly embraces it too. I think if you look at the trending stuff on Twitter, for example, or if you look at the Twitter moments, for example, and I know a lot of you don't have a Twitter, which is a good decision. I genuinely believe that. That said, it's always polarizing. It's always upsetting. It's very rarely good news. It's very rarely exciting stuff. And that could just be the way we users use it. Lord knows Reddit is almost entirely freeform. You can say or do whatever you want to say or do over in Reddit, and you choose what's on top. It gets upvoted. Reddit is also a very negative place. So stands to reason that people are just very negative, that we are all very negative. We like drama. We like being frustrated. We like being irritated. We like being on the offensive. We like being offended. We like being mad. Lord knows I buy into that too. Diablo Immortal, anybody? So I think it's a human trait. But I do think these social media platforms are designed to embrace them. And I think that's one of the things we've seen here at the fall of YouTube. I think during the rise of YouTube, we saw quite a few people, and I say fall of YouTube, I'm certainly biased there because it's my channel that's failing more than anything. But I think when we saw the rise of YouTube, we saw right towards the end of the rise of YouTube, we saw the drama channels and we saw the commentary and the negative channels start to take over. And now the platform seems to be not doing as well. And maybe that's because algorithmically they're trying to get rid of channels like those. But they still perform better than most. Or maybe it's just because people are tired of my crap and I have a biased point of view. But I do know a lot of other creators who are saying exactly the same thing. So it's interesting. If you use social media, is it a mostly positive experience for you? Or is it a mostly negative experience for you? And which social media do you use? How do you use YouTube? Do you look for polarizing content? Or do you look for content that's just light and fluffy? I still watch a lot of Good Mythical Morning, but I still watch Philip DeFranco every single day. And he's pretty polarizing. So what does that say about me? I still watch iDubbbz when he uploads. I still watch H3 when he uploads. Not the podcast as much, but when he actually uploads the comedy videos and stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. Here's what I will say. I did post a form about the podcast for people to listen to it. A few hundred people filled it out. Thank you for doing that. It's going to provide us a lot of information. If you did listen to that podcast, I'm going to link the form again down here below. There's also a sponsored link in this video. Not doing a shout out for them or anything, but you want to click on that, you're more than welcome to. And let's see, is there anything else really important to talk about this week? I think that pretty much wraps it up. Here's what I will say. What is going on with Boogie? Why is Boogie doing what he's doing? It's just that time of year. The holidays have always been really hard for me, especially since I lost my original family. Losing my newest family, especially hard. But fortunately, I still have a pretty extended group of family and friends. Between that and the stress of work and the stress of life and coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the divorce and the beginning of all of that, it's been a really stressful time. The anniversary of the death of my mom, the anniversary of her birthday, It's just a tough time of year. November, December, especially difficult. And the fact that that's crunch time for YouTubers can make it even more difficult. So expect me to screw up a bunch more times between now and December. Expect me to miss upload days. Expect me to be super dramatic on Twitch streams at some point. Expect me to just continue to be me, as I tend to be in these rambling videos and elsewhere. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. Let's see, next video should probably be the gaming news wrap-up, so I hope you're looking forward to it. Some pretty interesting stuff happening this week, including that Pokemon League. Oh, man, I want to play that game right now. All right, we'll talk about that in the gaming wrap-up. Guys, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon.